Hey guys, it's KJ from The Scariest Movie Ever. In this video, I wanted to take a look at what life is going to be like during the tribulation times for those that are enslaved by the beast system. Because we're currently living in the shadow of tribulation, simply waiting for that moment to begin. And once this final process starts, there'll be nothing to stop it for a few years. And in that few years, humanity will be divided into one of two camps: sheep or goats, wheat or tares. And in this video, I'm going to show you a few glimpses of what's coming for them. But before we get to that, there's something else I wanted to show you. What you're looking at is the cover of the magazine The Economist from 2015. Much like the murals at the Denver International Airport, also much like the Illuminati card game from Steve Jackson. This magazine, the covers on this magazine for many years, has been used like a spiritual storyboard. Satan's minions work as a hive mind. This type of predictive programming is spiritually placed for the public as they adhere to occult law, much like a vampire having to have your permission to enter their home. This is in essence their way of gaining permission by the people to perform their spells. So let's take a look at the new cover of The Economist magazine and see what they have for us. What you're looking at here is the holiday double issue of The Economist for 2022 and 2023. And when I first laid eyes on this, there's several things that really stood out to me. I'd be interested to hear your perspectives as well. So here we're taking a closer look at the cover of The Economist magazine. And the first thing that stood out to me is if you look up in the corners, both left and right, you'll see the 8-pointed star. And that's a representation of Lucifer, the 8-pointed star of Lucifer, also known as the 8-pointed star of Ishtar. Many of these symbols, when it comes to the occult and the esoteric, will have multiple meanings, but typically you'll find the 8-pointed star referencing Lucifer. Instead of the pentacle on top of the tree, we have the atomic symbol, possibly an atomic Christmas. Many of us are aware that nuclear devastation is at our doorstep. And this is not something that's going to be avoided, unfortunately. This is prophecy playing out. Over the last several years, many people have had dreams and visions about nuclear war, specifically things taking place here in America, and even more specific, an attack on New York City, a nuclear bomb going off near New York City and causing a tsunami, a nuclear bomb that goes off just outside of New York City, and it creates a tsunami that completely wipes out the city. And this is also on money. Money itself, the paper, the money, are also spiritual storyboards. They took a piece of paper, they wrote their plans on it, the New World Order, and they called it money. And on American currency, you can actually see New York City being wiped out by a tsunami that was caused by a nuke.
People did not know about this little dude right here, so I'm going to make a video to show you. So this right here is a math equation, right? And we all know in satanic worship they like to invert things. So if we go from bottom to top, rather than top to bottom, and we do the math equation, I'll show you what answer we get. All right, we'll get calculator, and we go 789 minus 456 minus 456, we get 333. That goes in the gap. There's a gap there for the answer. What comes next? 2 times by 2. What is the answer? 666. So basically that's a shadow figure that worships the devil. And it's right there on your money, right in fucking plain sight. Boom.
They also have the entire story of the destruction of New York City and the rise of the Antichrist on St. John's pillars, which are also in New York City. So we have an atomic Christmas, perhaps. And just to the sides of that symbol, we see the beasts. And you have one of these horned beasts with the star of Lucifer on his side, so perhaps that is an actual symbol for Lucifer himself or the Antichrist. To the left of that, you have the skull, or death, because death is definitely on the menu. There's going to be a lot of death coming during the tribulation. We go over to the right, under the other beast, and there's the pentacle, which people are typically placing on top of their tree, and the pentacle has absolutely nothing to do with Jesus Christ or holiness. Then if you go back to the tree and you look right underneath the atomic symbol, you've got the pentagram. You may say, no, but that's just a star, but you see how one of the legs is extended just a little further than the rest. It's because that's the point that's considered down. So there's the pentagram, and I'll show you another place where they do this type of thing as well with the star. If you weren't aware of this, now you will be, and I'm sure you'll start seeing it more often. Just pay attention when you'll see a star on any kind of a corporate logo. Pay attention to if it's tilted or not. So when it tilts, just like the one here on Carl's Jr., that's supposed to be a representation of the pentagram. As we move further down on this cover of the magazine, we get a clearer picture of the actual tree. If you take a look at the tree, there's a 666 right in front of your face. On both sides of the tree, there's 6 branches, and on the very top, there's 6 candles. So that's one of the easy ones. 666 right there in front of us. And then if you look down at the bottom, underneath the tree, over on the left-hand side, you'll see that vine with all the leaves. And there's 18 leaves on there, so once again, a 666. What you're looking at is the 12-pointed star. The 12-pointed star is also a symbol for the Kabbalah. Now, if you look at the very bottom of the picture, in the very center, you'll find that 12-pointed star. No surprise that it represents the Kabbalah, because this is all magic that we're dealing with here. And then the left-hand side, it's mixing iron with clay, I believe, where you see the human and something going on inside the brain. It's just my perception of it, but I believe that has to do with the potion that so many people are taking right now, and how it really is changing humanity from the inside out.
That black shit moves. It has a will, an attitude. It bites.
And those are my perspectives on this cover of the magazine. It'd be interesting to hear what you guys think, and maybe you found some things that we didn't. And this is something that not everyone's going to have the eyes to see or the ears to hear, but those of you that do clearly see what I see, I'm sure. And we understand that this is how Satan's minions work. This is how that hive mind works. Oftentimes, they're completely unaware they're putting these symbols together on things, and then sometimes they are aware and they do it on purpose, like gangs sending out symbols to one another, secret messages. Many of us are still scratching our heads, completely perplexed at how so many people have fallen for all of these lies over the last few years. Satan has been incredibly effective at deceiving the population. One of the greatest tools at his disposal has been the lockdowns over the last few years. Many people are breathing a sigh of relief now, as it seems the lockdowns have lightened up quite a bit. However, Satan and this system are not going to easily let go of this control method. So how is it they could bring us back into lockdowns, back into masks, and all the rest of that nonsense? They'll continue introducing new variants. They'll continue introducing new viruses. That's not going to stop. But the one card they've been holding for quite a while, they're about to play, and we're already getting signs of that. And we're talking about climate lockdowns. Everything involved with the so-called green movement is straight from Satan himself. This is a control method. They're using this idea of the green economy, the Green New Deal, and all the rest to persuade the people, to lie to them, telling them that we've got a wonderful world awaiting you where everything's going to be connected, it'll be so much easier and better, but it won't be. Again, folks, we're moving into the end times, the end of the story. The Bible is true and real and playing out before our very eyes. No one's going to come and save this world but Jesus himself. Check out what this politician down in Australia is trying to warn the people about when it comes to these climate lockdowns and the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, this coming complete and total control grid beast system.
Are becoming digital surveillance precincts with so-called smart city programs being rolled out across the country. Invasive technology such as facial recognition cameras, license plate readers, smart lights, smart poles, smart cars, smart neighbourhoods, smart homes and smart appliances, all connected to wireless networks and communicating with each other. So what's wrong with that? Technology is good, isn't it? All this is for your safety, security and convenience, isn't it? Well, let me tell you, your streets are spying on you, your mobile phone is spying on you, your cities are spying on you, and the infrastructure for future lockdowns is being put into place right now. Don't be fooled. You're being set up to be tracked through your movements and through the future of your digital wallets. By handing over your data, you're handing over the ability to monitor your behaviour, which will soon be turned into a social credit score. And once the central bank digital currencies are in place, you won't get to spend your money without approval. Digital ID will soon become a reality in Australia. Many other countries are already rolling these systems out, countries like Canada, Scotland and many others. Eventually, you won't be able to access any government or public services, and you won't be able to travel across borders or access healthcare or the internet without a digital ID. Think you won't comply? I think you will. The last 2 years were the dress rehearsal and we fell for it hook, line and sinker. Australians are sleepwalking into this technocratic future. And while we're sitting around scratching our chins trying to work out whether this is really happening, Australia is drifting towards a dystopian digital future. Spoke about the concept of the rise of the digital surveillance state. Now, it's a serious topic and it's a serious matter and it requires more than we've got time for today. But I'm down here in the city of Unley in Hayward Park in South Australia to show you exactly what I'm talking about, the concerns that I've got about where this all goes. Have a look behind me. This is a screen down here in the park, which looks pretty innocuous, I'm going to say. You know, you've got information, you can come up and you can find out about the area, how it was named, the forebearers and all that sort of stuff. Park's features, tells you a little bit about what's in it. It's all fine. Events, what's coming up, you know, like Christmas carols, that sort of thing, no problem. But have a look at this. This little area here, Smart City. Now, this is the thing that I'm most concerned about. Not necessarily this, but what this infrastructure is going to do in terms of where it goes and the information that's being gathered about us when we're just going about our daily lives and how it'll be used in the future. Have a look at this. Let's take one straight off the top. Barbecue usage. This will tell us, it loads up, purportedly loads up, all the information about how the barbecues are being used in the area. Now, so what, you might say? Well, let's assume in a world not far from now, your government has declared a climate emergency. By the way, your government's done it here in South Australia already, which is a lunatic nonsense. It's just absolutely crazy. But we enjoyed the Clipsal 500 with all the diesel fumes as well, by the way, so bring that in. But let's go back to the park. Have a look at this. It tells you when the barbecues have been used over the last month. Now, imagine you're in a climate lockdown. You're told no one can barbecue meat because you're saving the planet, and you come down here to use one of the barbecues, works out who's down here, works out someone's using the barbecue, and the police come down to shut down your barbecue. Problem number one. Let's have a look at some of the others. Amenities monitoring here as it loads up. You've got toilet usage per day. We don't need to know that. Now, you might say that's because we need to know when to clean them. Let's come out and clean them. We don't need to know who's going in there and using the can. Simple as that. Back. EV charger usage. So that's electric vehicles for the knuckle draggers like me amongst us. Tells you how many, not many by the way, because no one drives them, but in any event, how many times they've been used over the last month or so. How about this one? People counting. You want to take a deep dive into your dystopian future under the digital surveillance state. It's right here. This little board here tells you how many times people have come through the park. So essentially, it tells you how many unconnected Wi-Fi devices there are in. So that would be everyone's phone. This is telling you how many people are in the park at the moment. So once again, imagine a lockdown scenario, another emergency, another COVID outbreak, or monkeypox, or whatever you like, you name it, we'll make it up. 6 devices in this park at the moment. That's down 50% for normal. Your local government, your state government, your federal government might want it to be none. And this will tell you, these sensors up in this light, the Wi-Fi connections, they're all interlocked. There will be facial recognition cameras in there. So, don't think you're just going to leave your phone at home. The cameras will pick you up in future. All seems very innocuous, but the reality here is what we are seeing is the very real and very, very, in my view, concerning future for how we go. These areas are all going to be geo-fenced, and there's going to be more data about you out there and what you do per day. And I hear people saying, I've got no problem with any of this, I don't do anything wrong. Well, that all depends on whether or not your government has the same viewpoint as you. And we've seen this played out in the last 18 months through the COVID period. I've got to tell you, I don't like this at all.
Hola amigos, the way we make McDonald's may be changing forever. This afternoon I went to Fort Worth to check out McDonald's new test concept that's all about takeaway and drive-through. You can now order on the app, pull into a curbside pickup lane, go through the drive-through, or order ahead and go through the order ahead lane to be served by conveyor belt. When you pull up, they'll ask you for your code, and in no time your food arrives. I gotta say it worked pretty well, but of course I did unbuckle and reach over to grab my food. Now if you go inside, you'll see that it's like no other McDonald's you've been to before. There's one kiosk to order your food. Other than that, you can go up front and pick up there. There's bathrooms, but it's designed for you to go in and out.
I stopped at a gas station in Alabama to get some fuel, and y'all talk about minimum wage, how high it's getting and stuff. This gas station is what's going to happen. Everything here is automated. There's not a soul here working. And I'm going to show you around to show you what I've seen. I've never seen this before, but I'm here with my truck. Just got out. It's just a regular gas pump. You pay at the pump. But let me take you inside. Like I say, there's no attendants. There's nobody here. As you go in, there's nothing. There's nobody. There's not a window. There's nothing. See, it says pay at the pump only, no cash accepted. There's your coffee, ice, making a video of this. I ain't never seen nothing like this. You talk about minimum wage going up? This is what's going to happen. There's nobody here to pay.
That's right. This is going to be a car.
All of these machines are automated. And all you do is come over here and you touch the screen. You pick what you want. Like if I wanted a drink, let's take sodas. Soda, there's all the sodas. You put your money in the machine, and the sodas are down here. They drop down. Now let me show you the bathroom. There's the ladies. There's the men's. Restrooms, purchase required. Code on the bottom of receipt. You have to purchase gas outside to get a code. You punch it in right here. It's for the women's. That's for the men's. And there's not a soul here. So they don't have to pay minimum wage. And all they have over here is they have a microwave, stuff for your coffee, ice, everything. Gas pumps on this side, gas pumps on the other side. No one to pay. So that's.
Just think for a moment about the minions behind this whole movement that's taking place on the planet as they shift from the fourth age to the fifth age, the age of Antichrist, a time of enslavement and death. 10 years ago, had you heard of Klaus Schwab? How about Yuval Noah Harari? Maybe even 5 years ago, had you heard of these guys? Of course not. Today, many are aware of this crowd and their one-world intentions. We all see the new lawlessness and rebellion in every aspect of society. Its current overdrive was sparked in Minneapolis back in May 2020. But that was simply the match. Now police forces are reduced, criminals face no bail, and prosecutors encourage more lawlessness. The spirit of Antichrist is everywhere, in our government, our schools. It's priming the pump for the real Antichrist. This whole thing was also a test, testing each and every human being. Do you trust the Lord or do you trust man more? But unfortunately, millions upon millions, even billions of people are trusting man. That's what we learned from this test. A lot of people didn't pass. And if they don't repent of this, turn away from this, and stop trusting man, specifically in this regard, they'll find themselves trusting the Antichrist in not much time, because it's coming. Entire continents have caved to this religion of climate change and environmentalism. They worship Mother Earth rather than the loving Father God. Joe Biden and little Billy Gates want to block the sun to fight global warming. In the name of saving energy, farmers in Europe are being put out of business. This is an action that's inviting famine. Why are we surprised when our authorities tell us cash is going away? The beast system, a cashless system, plays a prominent biblical end-time role. More than 100 nations are exploring CBDCs, according to the IMF. The Biden administration is pushing this. It's being portrayed as the answer to many of the world's problems, and we could see it as soon as 2023. Although it's tough to watch, America is in major decline. At the same time, name even one global leader. Leftists are trying to make America a liberal paradise like Venezuela. Sadly, the result is more like a banana republic. Progressives are attempting to accomplish what every other socialist communist country has: destroy the middle class, obtain unending power, create a permanent welfare state, and create total dependence. How else could you explain all the rage that a girl can become a boy and a boy can become a girl? That men can join women's sports and change clothes in the ladies' locker rooms, and that all of this is totally normal and healthy, right? Trans-identifying kids in the U.S. have increased by almost 1,000% in just the last 2 years. How do you explain the love of killing a child in the womb at any stage of life with a torturous procedure? It's the rise of the strong delusion. It's a global deception. And just look at the current state of the church. In the last 2 years, thousands have gone, quote, woke, seeker-sensitive, and more. Social justice has replaced salvation. Many teach that the church will make the world a better place, even perfect. The sheep are trying to find a solid church and one that talks about issues of the day and Bible prophecy. but unfortunately, any church worth going to is harder and harder to find these days. The world and some in the church are dancing with the devil. Social media encourages this and provides the platform. Even Christians dabble in things they know they shouldn't. Then there's the blatant, the Commonwealth Games last summer that feature the recreation of the Tower of Babel, even had a woman riding the beast. This is all leading to rampant sorcery talked about in Revelation. This massive increase in supernatural and paranormal, UFO sightings as well, all ties in to the end game. In fact, speaking of the paranormal, there have been a lot of clips people have been uploading just over the last year and a half or so of these creatures. They seem to be all black, no facial features, and oftentimes they look human or humanoid, and sometimes they look like animals. I'll show you a few examples here, but once again, I've been finding a lot of these. People are filming these all over and uploading these online. What do you think?
Dios mío. Es una persona. No, no es una persona. Es una persona doblada. Pero qué hace. Ay, madre, no. Está moviéndose raro. Diosito, Dios mío, ¿qué es eso? Ay, no.
Será que é gente isso? É nada. Não é de jeito nenhum gente isso aí, ó.
Alison McDowell has done some incredible research on the Fourth Industrial Revolution and really all things WEF. She's done so well at compiling data and research that she really lays out what this beast system during the tribulation is going to look like for human beings, and it's absolutely terrifying. There will be no escape from it. Make no mistake, we're being lied to every single day about this future they're bringing in. Satan only has a little bit of time left to harvest as many souls as he can. So let's take a look at what Satan has in store for humanity over the next few years.
The future that they're doing. Oh, so this is just another clip from the same talk.
The human beings that are arriving to us now, they're not the same species as you. They're Homo sapiens sapien.net. I mean this in all seriousness. They are not the same species as you. They have never lived without access to some kind of a virtual supercomputer attached to their body. We have to figure out what that Homo sapiens sapien.net is. How does that person learn? How can that person be influenced? How can you communicate with that person? And so the conflicts of the future are all going to have to then realize that there is a huge transformation in human evolution.
I mean, like they tell you, it's on YouTube. You know, like, I don't. So they call this centaurs, the human interface. This is from a DARPA, a woman who was formerly at DARPA, now it's something called Platypus. They're saying they want to combine like the pattern recognition of AI with the empathy of humans or whatever. And it's really interesting. So I'm in Philly. There's something mystical that is arising here. Like I don't think that I have a friend, and he's developed a website called Silicon Icarus that's a compilation of a lot of writings, and I think it is like Icarus, this idea that they have these aspirations, the Silicon Valley, that they are going to soar to, you know, the sun and the things that it's going to melt. You know, that wax is going to melt off, but we have to have the fortitude to get to that point. But there's sort of this mystical experience, and Philadelphia has this interesting history of both like Freemasonry and power and all sorts of things. And in the 1690s, these monks came from the old world, from Germany and Silesia. It was Jacob Zimmermann and Johannes Kelpius. And they were a millenarian cult. They thought it was the end of the world, and they said that they were supposed to go to Pennsylvania and wait for the woman in the wilderness. And so they brought 40 men, monks, and they built a school and an observatory, and they were astronomers and astrologers and mystics and alchemists, and you know, they had one of the first hymnals in the New World they developed, and so again, vibrational things, and it didn't happen. But there's a space, it's probably really just a spring house, but they call it the Kelpius Cave in the park in the city, and the Rosicrucians have a monument to him outside of it. And they're like, he's the first Rosicrucian of North America, right? And so this monument on the side of it, it just has, you know, it was put up in the 60s, I think. It's, you know, it's maybe 10 inches wide there. It says Nephili on the side in Greek. Now, I would not know Greek. Like, my husband with me goes, oh, that's Greek. That says Nephili. I'm like, who came out and wrote that on that marker out there? Who did that, right? And so Nephili was the cloud nymph in the Greek mythology. So Ixion, I think, was like the first murderer in like the mythology, was lusting after Zeus's wife Hera. So he recreated Nephili, who was a cloud nymph, as a twin of her. And then she was raped, and then from that came the centaurs. And now they're saying, we don't call them cyborgs. Cyborgs isn't such a good word. We should call them centaurs, right? And then later, like there was some other like remarriage and other children after a famine, like the ram that became the golden fleece like saved them, but there was a crop famine too. So there are these elements of like clouds and violence and twinning and the centaur piece. Like there are these things, and so who, you know? And at first I thought, is it chalk? Because it's very carefully done, but hand done, and it's paint. I've gone back again. It's still there, but the NIH has started an initiative to study the microbiome, and they specifically say they're calling it Nephili. Now, Penn is a center, and actually, you should look up Roz Ben's work. It's really interesting. He's a geomancy guy in Philadelphia, RASBEN, and he does a lot of historical research, sort of esoteric knowledge on Philadelphia. And like it's his premise, like that is told through the public art of Philadelphia, that Ben Franklin and Prometheus opened the gates of hell in Philadelphia, right? And if you imagine, like they frame it as, isn't it lovely to be social out in the world in that way? And yes, like clearly having some, like there are real limitations, but it's this dual use, right? Are they going to make the person pay off their time in a hospital by working in this cafe? Like, is it really a caring thing that you're trying to enrich someone's life, or is it another way of slave labor? And so these policies are moving forward. So I would just say gamification is central. Kevin Werbach, I might have mentioned him before, he's a professor at Wharton, and he blends both gamification and blockchain. And what Werbach has said to his group of Wharton alumni, because he said, you know, a lot of people don't even know that there's a game. And a lot of people don't know the rules, and sometimes the rules are unexpected. So really, it's best to be the one that designs the game, right? And so that, like, if you're a Wharton alum, then you get to be in the room where Kevin Werbach says, you want to design the game, folks. You want to be the designer. And so you can see here, we're talking the behavioral analytics is leading to transhumanism, and I spoke yesterday a bit about using the data analytics to train the machines to be more human, right? So they're linking the analytics into the transhumanist program. And I sort of liken it like one of the big players in this is actually Epic Games. Epic Games was able to scale Fortnite with money from Tencent in China. Tencent is a major investor in the video game world, the virtual world. And it's sort of like the next iteration of the pick your own adventure books. You know, like there's different quests and different tasks, and you can come to different outcomes depending on at different forks in the road, the choices that are made or the outcomes. But ultimately, it wasn't your book. Like you didn't write that book, you're in somebody else's book, you're in somebody else's game. And so if we accede to living in a world that is gamified, we're living in somebody else's game, and they know the rules and we don't. So I will just share this image. Like, I encourage people, especially if you care about nature and the environmental movement, because so much of it has been captured through corporate interests. This is the Internet of Bio-Nano Things. And this image from Ian Achildes, he's at Georgia Tech, I mentioned him yesterday. This has been in the process for the last like 15 or 20 years. Now, I'm not in the tech space, so I don't know if these are people who are blowing hot air, you know, that this is far from happening or not. Clearly, Georgia Tech is a major defense contracting research institution. But these powerful people who are using our tax dollars largely to do this research are imagining a cyber-physical environment with nanobots and voice-to-skull technology in which we interface with our world through electrical signals intelligence, right? And it's very true. You know, I'm still learning a lot of these things that we're clearly electrical beings living in an electrical world, and we're already engaging in electrical ways. Like, we know that, like, the good feelings we feel when we're all here together and we're kind of on the same page, it feels good, and there's an electrical element to that. But what does that mean, that what they are building with their nanotechnology that Alana spoke to yesterday so clearly? Yeah, so I just sort of visual when I was looking for, like, I feel like what they want to do is create husks of people, right? And then like gut us out and make their machines. And so just when I happened to be looking for virtual reality and different things in Arizona, and this zombie game came up, you know, Arizona Spring. So I'm not a gamer. I don't know if this is a good game or not, but like, it's a pretty great, it had an adult rating on it. So I sort of feel like we're against the Arizona Spring zombie apocalypse version versus like someone who's actually fighting for like a sacred, like a cultural connection to place and community. So that's sort of the game. So what is the board? So smart cities, I mean, that's something that Patrick knows very much about. You know, and Alana, they're being run through space, running through these nanotechnologies. Essentially this idea, and we've heard in Nevada that they're talking about creating new cities now that are run by companies, like company towns, right? Coal towns, if you imagine the mining towns are now, the mining is they're mining your body, right? And it's the tech companies that are setting them up. That the virtual world, the gamified world, is the game board, and then really, literally, the pieces in this game are our bodies from both our cells and our frequencies. So, you know, I really, like, I think I mentioned yesterday that I wanted to try to get out to that Vatican telescope. But I feel like it is this sacred and profane engagement, right? And it is a scientism, again, when, you know, and that's the interesting thing about this Vatican telescope. Why is it the Vatican and Arizona State University so interested in space? You know, is it just for you know, is it a faith thing, or is it something else? You know, because we know that this game is going to be run from space. So this is an image from my friend Joseph's game that he's working on, and actually it's interesting because it reminded me a little bit of Salt Lake City, the mountains, or here I guess a little bit. And so he's building it, and so if you imagine the world being recreated as a game, actually there's a lot of work to be done. All of those tabs, all of those numbers, there's all sorts of math, and then you code, you know, how people interact and how vehicles interact and what the behaviors are. It's coding. It literally is social engineering, but you're socially engineering a game in which X amount of stuff is fixed according to code, and then you enter real people who sign in and log in and play in this space. So this is sort of like transmuting a real landscape into this space that is not under our control. Again, the spatial web, this just talks about, if you look at the Spatial Web Foundation, I put this up here, it's worth looking at the report. Again, I do not know how close they are in this technology, but you can see in the lower version the augmented reality, right? Someone walking and this pop-up. It's not unlike Minority Report. Like, we've seen that when the guy walks through the mall and the messages pop up to him that are personalized to him. They're talking about hyperporting of users and smart assets between spaces. And so my understanding, again, I'm not a gamer, but that you can get to different parts of the game by like clicking through. You can port into different parts of the game, different quests, different elements. So really what we're looking at, like when you see on your social media, like little rooms, like do you want to create a room with someone? Like that's a portal, like you're like they're normalizing all of this, like you will hyperport into this room. And I mentioned yesterday about the blockchain transhumanist brains, like something in that room might not even be a human. It might be like the kitten printing toaster, you know, in there that you're connecting to in your room to solve a global problem of climate crisis or something like that.
As always, guys, I want to thank you for watching my video, and I pray that my videos help in some way. The most important thing you can do right now is to make sure that you have accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. So until next time, take care of yourselves, okay? And I'll talk to you real soon.
You and everyone you know has a piece of DNA in your genome, put there without your knowing it.
Put there by whom?
Well, that's the question of the day.
This is an internet lunatic. You're not saying you believe him.
Hold on, Agent Einstein. You're talking to a scientist.
Forgive me, Assistant Director. It may sound insensitive, but the suggestion is pure science fiction.
What I'm saying, Agent Einstein, is that the facts, as I understand them, cannot be discounted out of hand.
No one has the right or the ability to tamper with your DNA.
Unless we gave them that ability.
When you say they're tampering with our DNA, that they're able to shut down our immune systems by the addition of something to our DNA.
Yes, but I don't know how exactly.
Or how it's being triggered.
I don't know that either.
Or why it's happening now. What can we possibly do?
We need to act quickly.
You were right about that.
Well, I was wrong about the science. I was wrong about what's causing it. Dead wrong, in fact.
But it's clearly a widespread failure of our immune systems.
Through gene tampering. A virus within a virus that was put there through the smallpox vaccine. It's what these men are calling the Spartan virus.
We have to figure this out. What's wrong with the science?
Okay. The Spartan virus removes the adenosine deaminase gene from your DNA. Remove the ADA gene and your immune system will simply vanish.
Yeah, but I'm not getting sick.
It's only a matter of time.
Okay. So how does it work? How does the virus remove the ADA gene?
A process called CRISPR-Cas.
CRISPR-Cas9. RNA and a protein cutting genes at exact locations.
Exactly. But in this instance, used as a weapon.
The ultimate weapon. The ability to depopulate the planet. To kill everyone but the chosen.
By tampering with their DNA.
Through gene editing.
Why do such a thing and lie about it? Our own government.
Your own government lies as a matter of course, as a matter of policy. The Tuskegee experiments on black men in the 30s, Henrietta Lacks.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece.
But it's not hard to imagine a government hiding, hoarding technology for 70 years at the expense of human life and the future of the planet. Driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective.
The takeover of America.
And then the world itself, by any means necessary, however violent, or cruel, or efficient. By severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves. In a state of perpetual war. To create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home. With tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, which abridge the Constitution in the name of national security. The militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., the building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose. The corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military in clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government preparing to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
The takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cull, kill, and subjugate.
Happening as we sit here.
It's happening all around us.
The other shoe waiting to drop.
It'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action necessitating their computers to go offline all weekend.
Digital money will disappear.
They can just steal your money?
Followed by the detonation of strategic electromagnetic pulse bombs to knock out major grids.
What will seem like an attack on America by terrorists or Russia.
An invasion of the U.S.
The Russians tried it in '47.